Welcome back to American Catechism for episode number 68 by Stab the Dragon Productions, coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas on Monday, June the 29th, 2026, where it's currently 98 degrees. One of the things I do on this channel is celebrate the birthdays of some of the states that comprise the United States, specifically the states that are directly related to my family. Places where family members have lived over the past 127 years. America is a great country, blessed by God, and each of the states has its own unique history, climate, geography, and culture, and each state is worthy of study and celebrating on its own, or the whole together. So in these episodes, I review some of the state's history and the statistics, and then I review a whiskey from that state. Today, I'm studying Virginia because they were admitted to the Union as the 10th state on June the 25th, 1788, and an American single malt called Courage and Conviction by Virginia Distilling Company. Now, I'm a few days late with this review and this study. Normally, I like to try to do this on the day before or the day of the state's birthday, but today I'm running about 4 days late. So just the facts. This American single malt is available here in Fort Worth, Texas for about $65. 750 milliliter bottle, weighs in at 92 proof, and it has a very robust aluminum tube, as well as a fancy bottle. So they put some serious thought and effort and money into the packaging of their whiskey. Tasting notes: malty, vanilla, fruit-like apples maybe, some spices. Very nice. I gave it a score of 87, a letter grade of a solid A. My recommendation: the quality of this whiskey is very high. The price is commensurate with the quality, and the presentation is excellent. The story is compelling. So we'll get to the details about this whiskey in just a little bit, but first we're going to look at the state of Virginia. The Commonwealth of Virginia is actually how it's termed. It is a southern state that is geographically in the southeastern United States, or because it's on the coast, it is a mid-Atlantic state. It borders Maryland and Washington, D.C. to the north, West Virginia to the northwest, Kentucky in the west, Tennessee in the southwest, North Carolina to the south. The highest elevation is a Mount Rogers at 5,728 feet, and the lowest is sea level on the Atlantic coast. It is the 35th largest state by land area, but 12th in population. Population at about 8.9 million. Historically, when the London Company established the colony at Jamestown in 1607 along the James River, the Powhatan Indians were the dominant tribe. But evidence suggests human presence in Virginia stretching back for at least 17,000 years. King James's 1606 charter for the colony says, and I'm quoting, "We greatly commending and graciously accepting of their desires for the furtherance of so noble a work, which may by the providence of Almighty God hereafter lend to the glory of his divine majesty, in propagating of Christian religion to such people as yet live in darkness and miserable ignorance of the true knowledge and worship of God, and may in time bring the infidels and savages living in these parts to human civility and to a settled and quiet government. Do by these our letters patent graciously accept of and agree to their humble and well-intended desires." Amen. And yet, in the modern day, people say we are not, nor have we ever been, a Christian nation. Oof. Jamestown did not do well as a colony for lots of reasons. And a couple of the reasons stand out. First of all, the colony organizers did not send the right types of men. They sent gentlemen adventurers at first, who were more interested in looking for gold than planting crops and learning to survive. The colony needed yeoman farmers and carpenters. Instead, they got these gentlemen adventurers who would rather starve to death than raise crops. Secondly, the climate was so different from England, and the site chosen at Jamestown was not a very good site, so that many died from the heat and from malaria. In the first 14 years, about 80% of the 8,000 colonists died. Whoa. You do have to grant the English this. They stuck to it and did not give up. In modern America, if you had a few deaths, the country would go into a panic and be chanting, "Bring them home, bring them home." There would be protests. So, yeah, in those days, mankind was a tougher breed and would go on adventures and try to do great things, knowing there would be a tremendous cost. In modern days, we have the 1619 Project. It's all the rage because that's when the first African slaves were sold in America, and the leftists say that 1619 is the real founding date for America because, that's when the slaves showed up in Virginia. Well, this is so much hooey. Yes, slavery was bad, and we all wish that slaves had not been brought over. However, the Indians already had slaves. It was common in Native American tribes. The English had the indentured servant thing going, which was, a step or two above slavery, but still, for white folks, it wasn't a good deal. And then black Africans sold other black Africans to white Europeans. And that black African trade had been going on since the dawn of time, way before white Europeans showed up. So if you want to make a bigger deal about slavery, first just tell the whole story, please. Virginia was certainly one of the main contributors to the American Revolution, American culture, and the founding of the country. Washington, commanding general of the Revolutionary Army, Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence, were both Virginians, as was Madison, pretty much the author of the Constitution. If you study the American Civil War, Virginia was, of course, a huge leader of the Confederacy, the home of Robert E. Lee, and the site of many battles: Manassas, Petersburg, the Wilderness, the Peninsula Campaign, etc. So Virginia, historically, has a place in our country that is really top tier. I mean, Massachusetts can make some claims, obviously, particularly for the Revolution, but for overall, Virginia is just one of the leaders. Now, on to the whiskey. All right. History of this brand. Located in Lovingston, Virginia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains, Virginia Distilling Company is the largest dedicated American single malt distillery in America. That's all they make. And this reflects the Irish heritage of their founder, Dr. George Moore. He was an Irish immigrant to America. The brand was founded in 2011, but Dr. Moore did not live to see the distillery operational while they were building it. He died, I think, in 2013. Nonetheless, his son and widow carried the project on to completion and into excellence. So, founded by an immigrant who lived the American dream, family-owned business, innovative, award-winning, excellent product, 5 out of 5 points for history. Bottle, label, and marketing. This is clear glass. It has a wood cap and a real cork stopper. It is sort of rounded, but it's got also kind of rectangular. And so it starts out rectangular there at the base, and then as it goes up by the shoulders, it's rounded. So that's a cool shape, and a couple of the sides are flattened a little bit. Fairly tall model too, and it's slender. Notice the metal medallion there at the top. That's pretty cool. At the shoulder. It's got a simple label, but instead of going vertical, you got to read it sideways. So there's a little bit of a hoo-ha statement on the back here. Inspired by the guiding principle of our founder, to have the courage of your convictions, our flagship American Single Malt whiskey is a combination of our passion for our home in Virginia and our dream to redefine American whiskey. Aged a minimum of 3 years, this 100% malted barley whiskey is matured in former sherry, cuvee, and bourbon casks. There you go. I went to their website, and they've got a pretty nice website, although their history on the website is not real clear. I've not really seen any advertising, but upon searching, it does have lots of reviews. There are some news releases and some videos. And I do see their brand in all 3 of the big liquor stores that I frequent here in Fort Worth. And again, you've got a very nice tube going on here. So that's just really some exceptional packaging going on. It's very attractive for bottle label and marketing. 5 out of 5. The appearance of the whiskey. This is kind of apple juice colored, light golden. So this is kind of a medium grade color here in the glass. So that's a light 3. 3 out of 5. Composition. They do say aged for at least 3 years on the bottle, but on the website it says 5. So a little bit of conflict there. It's in 50% of this is aged in bourbon cask, 25% sherry cask, and 25% in cuvee wine casks. And I really don't know what cuvee means. I don't know. Virginia has 4 real seasons as a state. They've got warm summers, cool winters, and some cold. They use 100% malted barley, and the barley comes from the Midwest. They ship that in, but it is milled, malted at the Virginia site, distilled, and aged there. They use copper pot stills that have been built in Scotland. So 13 out of 15 for composition. Nosing this whiskey. I don't get really a whole lot on the nose. A hint of the malt. Some vague fruitiness like maybe apples and pears. Traces of vanilla. So it's not a real bold nose, but it's there. 8 out of 10 on the nose. The taste. Malty. Vanilla. Fruit like the apples and some pears. A little bit spicy. Really very nice taste. Do I get any of the sherry cask? Not really. I'm not noticing any red fruits. I'm getting the apples and pears maybe. So 22 out of 25 though. This is certainly delicious. Mouthfeel, burn, and finish. It does have a decent mouthfeel with a nice bold burn right from the start. And so this is a bold for 92 proof. The burn more than just mouth tingles. It does go to the back of the throat. Doesn't really go up in the sinuses or down. The flavors do linger for a while. You get the vanilla, the malt, the fruit. They're all there, and they do linger. So 13 out of 15 for the mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Now, flexibility, versatility. I am so new to American single malts that I don't quite know what to do with them except drink it neat, straight up. I did have an old fashioned with single malt here, and it's didn't really work for me. I don't know. It was decent. It was pretty good, but it just wasn't right. And I've had another single malt old fashioned with I think it was Santa Fe whiskey not long ago, and it's kind of the same thing. Is it just didn't sit right with me. At a local distillery here, Acre Distilling Company, here in Fort Worth, they've got lots of single malts that they make, and I've had an old fashioned with one of theirs. And again, it seemed like a waste of a single malt. I don't know. So right now, I'm kind of at the stage of saying, if I'm drinking a single malt, it's just going to be neat. Now, if it's peated, I can do some things with peated scotch. Okay, make a Godfather or something. But even then, I prefer doing that with a blended scotch, not a single malt. So with single malts, I don't know. I guess I need to study it more, but cocktails with single malts just don't work for me yet. So more experimentation might be required. So for flexibility, versatility, even though I really like this whiskey, it's only going to be a 4 out of 5 for flexibility. Price, value, and availability. Well, I found this bottle at Specs in Fort Worth for $64.99. Goody Goody also had it for the same price. Total Wine does not have this bottle, but they did have another edition. And when you go to their website, it's kind of like there's two levels of their basic stuff. And the Courage and Conviction level is the upper tier, it seemed like. And then there was a lower tier that was less pricey. And it's reflected at Total Wine here and Goody Goody. They have some lower tier stuff that's less than this. So I'm kind of not sure how they structure their stuff at this distillery, but nonetheless, this is available fairly broadly, I guess. But 9 out of 10 points for price, value, and availability. And I do think it's worth the price. I mean, this is good quality stuff. Bonus points. Again, the quality is very high. The price matches the quality. Presentation is excellent. I find the story to be compelling. And the flavors that you get here are wonderful. So 5 bonus points. And this gives me a total score of 87. Letter grade for drinkability, solid A. So my final analysis. This is an excellent whiskey with very good value, and so I can highly recommend it. Again, I'm still not real certain what to do as far as mixed drinks go with single malts, particularly at this price point. Usually anything over $40, for sure over $50, I'm starting to question whether I should make a cocktail or not with these pricier whiskey. Pricey for me. So I'm just not certain what to do with single malts because for some reason the barley doesn't cross over into cocktails as easily as corn. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. All right, that's my analysis and recommendation. Next up, okay, the next thing coming up this week, let's see, today's the 28th, 29th, 30th. I think Thursday then is going to, no, Wednesday is going to be the 1st. And so 28, 29, no, I can't count. Thursday is going to be the 1st. And that's Canada Day. So I don't know. I've got a couple of options to go with Canada Day. I've got Lot 40, which actually last year for Canada Day, I did a head-to-head competition between Lot 40 regular edition and Lot 40 dark oak edition. But I never did a review on Lot 40. And then I've also got Crown Royal Black. So one of these whiskeys I think is going to get reviewed for Canada Day. And that's coming up. I'll do that either Wednesday or Thursday. For now, this is American Catechism for Stab the Dragon Productions, out here